So, Hannah, really exciting stuff. Double Exposure's out now. I'm only a couple episodes in, but I'm absolutely in love with it. So what I want to know straight away is, aside from the bonus episode in Before the Storm, this is kind of the first time Max has been back in almost a decade. What was it like for you coming back after so many years to pick up a character that so many people love?
Well, it was extremely, it was so thrilling. I was so excited that people wanted to see more of Max and that she was going to get to continue her story. I love this character and I hold her very dear to my heart. And to see that she was getting a time to shine just meant the world to me. And I also knew that there would be a lot of people who had really strong opinions about what they thought Max would be like as an older person, or not really an older person, but just, a young adult. And so I had a lot of pressure in wanting to make sure that the fans would be happy. Sorry for all the racket. My cat's...
No, that's fine. That's okay.
Really excited about something. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of pressure to make sure that we were making fans happy. But I also wanted to make sure that I stayed true to this character's, organic trajectory. And I really related to her.
Star appearance, just, cameo, it's fine.
Okay. I really related to her journey of experiencing some success as an artist. She has become a professional photographer, and in some ways that echoes my experience as an actress. And when you're an artist, it feels so impossible to reach that point of where you can say that you're sustaining yourself off of your art. And so she's reached that, and throughout those 10 years. And then I've also reached that throughout those 10 years. And it's just been a real honor to get to tap into her experience and mesh it with my own, and also work with the writers to figure out, how to best represent Max as a young professional.
And it is kind of full circle, isn't it? We had Life is Strange, the events of that wrap up, there's this huge gap, and then she comes back and she's full circle doing what she loves, and now she's making a living off of it. And it's a new academy, it's a new setting, it's a new dynamic, but it all just feels so right and familiar, even though it is different. I think one thing that stands out is obviously the voice, the performance. It's you can't not know who that is. I remember when the trailer dropped in June, I was watching, was it Summer Games Fest? I can't remember when it dropped in June, and it came up, and I straight away, Max is back. I was like, there's no way, because I don't think anyone expected this game to come out. I saw you put up a post saying you'd been working on it for 3 years. How did you guys keep it silent for 3 years? It's crazy.
Well, it was tough to keep it quiet because I had to move away from Los Angeles to the Denver metro area to work on the game. And I lived there for 2.5 years. And I couldn't really explain to people where I was going and why I was leaving LA or what I was working on. And I had to keep everything pretty vague with family members because they don't understand NDAs. And, we had to keep this a secret until it was the right time to announce it for the good of the game. And so I just kept that in my head and just basically went off the grid for a while and just became very, very vague about my life. I wasn't allowed to, post anything of sharing location or anything to let people know where I was.
Super secrecy.
I was just focused on keeping the secret.
Yeah. I mean, what was it like as well, the transition or the transformation? Because I'm assuming that you were doing the first game in maybe 2013, 14, and we fast forward all this time. 2014. Yeah. So what's the change like? Stepping back into the booth? Was it like riding a bike? It all just came flooding back, or?
Well, this was totally different because it wasn't this game. In original Life is Strange, I'm just doing her voice, and someone else is doing the body performance motion capture. But in this game, I'm doing her full performance capture, all of her movements, all of her facial expression, her voice, everything. So I'm fully embodying the totality of this character, and that definitely took me some getting used to, just because of the nature of mocap in general. I had done some performance capture in the past on another game, and
was that Murdered, or I don't know? Or,
Murdered Soul Suspect, And the characters that I played in that game were very specific and unique, and a bit more character based. Whereas Max is kind of a leading lady, and she has a bit more natural, typical movements. Well, I guess the biggest difference was that in Murdered Soul Suspect, my characters were mentally disturbed, and in this game, Max is obviously not that. She is somewhat disturbed by herself, in the sense that she's constantly seeming to create chaos without meaning to. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge, and I just worked with the directors, and Jonathan Stouter and Webb Pickers Guild, the performance director, and we were just able to figure out a way to have her present herself as a pillar of influence at this college for younger undergrads who were there, taking her photography seminars, learning from her, being influenced by her. And we just focused on how seriously she takes that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit weird hearing people refer to her as like Ms. Caulfield. It's like, she's so grown up now. And that was something that I didn't know about, like the technical stuff, because I knew that obviously it's a huge leap. You look at the visuals of the first game and the visuals of this game, it's night and day, the difference. And you're looking at the facial expressions, and I didn't look into the technical, the side of the development, and I'm like, they must be mocap, because they're so real, and the facial expressions, they're so like spot on, and it really adds such a nice depth to it. So it's cool to hear that you did the whole shebang, which is really cool. So I saw that Square did a press release. I haven't got to this point yet, but they did a press release where they said at the end of the game, we say Max Caulfield will return, and that she's ready to face her future and her present, or future and past, past and future, of course. So I'm curious if any of the 3 years leading up to this, you guys have done any work on anything that's coming, or if it's just we know nothing about what's coming in the future. I guess you guys can't go into too much detail on this one at all because of those pesky NDAs, but
we during those 3 years we were just working on Double Exposure, and that it took a long time. There were a lot of periods of time where we would have a break, and I wouldn't be coming in to shoot, but they would be reconfiguring things and figuring out exactly what the story would be and exactly how older Max would be. So there was a lot of workshopping done throughout that time. But in terms of the future, I don't know anything, but I'm really, really excited, and I hope Max, I really hope she's coming back, and that we get to learn more about her future and her inner world. And I think she's got worlds within her, so much to explore with her, and I'm just excited to see where she ends up.
And it kind of ties in the next, like a segue. One of the theories that I saw online, because Life is Strange community, they love it. One of the theories that I saw is that in the future, and this might be like a fanfic thing, is that Square would bring together all the protagonists from the Life is Strange games, and you'd have like a Life is Strange Avengers, for example. Like all of their powers would be fused in one epic battle against something or other. I don't know what it would be. Maybe it's a bit ambitious.
Well, what would they be fighting?
I have no idea. Someone evil, you know. I mean, everyone so far has had their powers. They've tried to do. I mean, you can obviously. I think in Life is Strange 2, you could kind of. There was like a good and evil kind of bit there, but I think really everyone's used their powers for good, kind of. But like, I mean, if that was to surface, I think it's fair to say Max would be the figurehead, right? She'd be the matriarch. She'd lead them, surely, right?
Oh my gosh, that'd be so cool.
I could just imagine it. I mean, she's already got the Miss Caulfield thing. I think her powers are probably the most. She's spent years honing them, right? So, well, actually, she kind of hasn't, because they knew we're going to get into a tangle. Yeah. So over the years, you guys, from the original Life is Strange, the cast, you guys have really stayed connected, and you've done a lot of streams of the game with like Diane and Nick, and the community really loves that. So, I mean, that in itself is so unique. To 10 years later, have the community still so connected to you guys from the first game. You know, other games have come and they've played their part and they've been fantastic, but I don't think anyone's as connected to any Life is Strange game other than the first one. The first one is just so powerful, and so many people recognize you guys. Do you plan to maybe do something like that with Double Exposure? Like do a stream, get on with some of the cast and play it?
Oh yeah, I'd love to get on a stream and play the game with some members of the cast. That sounds so fun. I don't have a console at the moment, but my brother does, and I won't be streaming it directly because I prefer not to learn how to do that technically.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit too much for me. But if someone else that is savvy wants to have me on and play the game, then absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, I think it's such an audience would tune in, because I think that's another thing, isn't it? Over the decade, I saw a stat last year that said something like 20 million people in the 10 years that the series has been established. 20 million people have played this game, and that in itself is crazy. That number, 20 million people, I'm assuming it's spread out over the whole, but the bulk of that is going to be the first game. I mean, that must be, I couldn't even fathom what that must feel like, knowing that many people have played your, lived the story that you guys performed. I think it was November last year. Yeah, they said 20 million players.
That's so wild. That's so wild. It's such an honor, and it's so cool, and I'm so thankful.
It's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, I've got one more. I've got one more question to wrap, and it's kind of a fun one. So we're talking about the history of it. The last 10 years we've seen so many powers. We've seen like telekinesis. You've got Alex's ability in True Colors, which is empathy, where she can see and alter what people are feeling. We've got the rewind time. We've got Max's new world-bending pulse kind of power. My question to you is, if you were in this universe, you kind of are, but if you were in this universe and you had the ability to maybe pick a power or pick one of these powers, what are you going to go with? What would you like to have as a power for yourself?
Oh, I like this question. I would really like to be invisible.
Okay.
At will, at any time, just disappear, but still be able to be present, and I can walk through doors and everything, and eavesdrop on people and investigate and be really curious and find out, what everyone's doing in their private life.
Yeah. So you are Max. This is it's such a similar thing, isn't it? Yeah. The world splitting thing's pretty cool. I like the rewind time piece, but in the first game that fails a couple of times, so it's unreliable. It's not tried and tested. So I think the world splitting thing's really cool. And obviously in the game, the way the details are altered, you want to keep switching backwards and forwards just to kind of explore. It might be something as simple as like there's a scene where you're in an office and there's a plant, and in one world the plant has died, and in another world the plant's alive, and you can like go up and water it and stuff. The little details like that it's just absolutely fantastic. Absolutely love it. And I can't wait to play the rest of it. Like I said, I've just started the third chapter. I think there's 5 in total, isn't there? So I need to, and I'm not gonna. absolutely. I'm not spoiling anything anywhere. I'm completely spoiler free, but the twists have already got me absolutely. I mean, my wife and I were playing it like side by side. You know, I play, she'll spectate, and we gasped. You know, we were like, this is amazing. The writing is fantastic. The acting is incredible. So
that's so great to hear. Thank you.